I wanted Sarah with the State Fire Marshal's Office in Kansas, and I'm the INFIRS program manager, and I am working on the INFIRS report for 2015 data, and everyone's always interested in call volume per day, and I wanted to look at a different way to present that, and everyone always thinks about calendars, so I wanted to see if I could make quickly a way to display call volumes each day in a format that we're always familiar with. So I wanted to make actual calendars, and I wanted to do it in PivotTables, which is something that I'm always really comfortable with. So I was playing around and I finally came up with a way to get the data into a calendar like this. And this has conditional formatting on it. So this is actual call data. It's the number of fires, like what you're looking at right now is the number of fires each day for this particular region in Kansas. And then I've added conditional formatting, so more fires on that date equals a darker red, like this particular day in March, there was 148 fires. So here's how I did it. First, let's get back to some raw data, and this is really stripped down data because you don't need to see my big giant table. So let's pretend you have a big giant table of fire data or whatever data you want to work with. Maybe you're working with financial data or something else, but you want to make a calendar of it to see what's going on a certain day. At minimum, you need a date field, and then whatever it is you want to count or sum or look at for that calendar. So in this case, I have INC type categories, so I can look at different categories. I've got an incident date, and then I have a system generated field called incident ID. Incident ID is the field that I will use as my value on the pivot table, which means that every single record has an incident ID, so this is never blank, which means I can always count it. On the calendars, I need 3 additional fields for month, for weekday, and then week number. If you have multiple years in your data, you would also need to add a column for years. I only have 2015 data here, but I can pretend that I have multiple years. So I'm going to right click in a column and I'm going to hit insert, and I will insert 4 blank fields. Yes, I'm aware I could have done that a lot faster. I'm just doing it slow, one at a time. So I'll do year, month, weekday, and then week num. How I would extract all of that is right out of this particular column. Because all of this data is set up as a table, I can do it very quickly with formulas. And I do it by clicking in the first row right here. I'm going to hit the equal sign, type text, open parentheses, click on my date, comma, space, quotation, y, end quotation, end parentheses, and then hit enter. When you hit enter, if you're using a table, it will fill in everything all the way down. If your data is not in a table, it will only do that one record there. If it only does that one record, here's a quick tip. Hover over the lower right until you get a dark, bold crosshair. Double click when you get those crosshairs and it will fill it in all the way to the bottom. And that little tip will work no matter what. For a month, I'm going to hit the equal sign, type in text, open parentheses, click on my date, comma, space, quotation mark, M. Actually, I'm going to do 3 M's. End quotation, end parentheses, and hit N. If you do 3 M's, it will do the abbreviated version of the month. If you do 4 M's, it will do the full month name. Weekday, I'm going to hit equals, text, open parentheses, date, comma, space, quotation, and then weekday is DDD. I'm just going to do the abbreviated version, quotation, hit enter, it'll go all the way down. Now week num is a little different. Hit equal sign, type in week num, open parentheses, click on the date, close parentheses, and then hit all the way down. Now I know that this looks weird. It's not how it should look. It's formatted as a date. Right click on the column, hit format cells, go to number, go down 0 decimal places, click OK, and now it's going to change. Now if I scroll down, you'll notice as the date goes, it will go up all the way all the way down here to 53 weeks, depending on your date. So now our data is ready. If you already had these columns, then you wouldn't need to do this. So now we're going to insert and do a pivot table. We don't need to change anything here. I'm going to hit OK. Now we have a blank pivot table. Remember when I said incident ID was that field where there's always something there. So I'm going to drag it down to values. I'm going to change it to count. If you're wanting to add up maybe the amount of money you spend every day, you would want to leave that as sum. In this case, I just want to count the number of calls that occurred each date. So I need to change that to count. I only have 1 year, but if you had multiple years, you would want to bring year down to filter and change it to 2015 or whatever year you wanted. From here, drag month to row labels, drag week num below month, drag weekday to column labels, and you have a rough calendar going on. From here, it's easier if you go to design, take out your grand totals off for columns, take out your subtotals, and now you're looking a little better. This is your rough calendar, and from here it's just a lot of formatting, copying, pasting. What I did is I just copied, and this is January. If you are missing values, you may need to add zeros into places. So I'm just going to do this a couple more times just to give you an idea. It's February, March, and there we go. There's the start of my calendars. And I'll make this a little smaller here. To do conditional formatting like I've done on this particular one, all I do for conditional formatting, and this conditional formatting is for the entire calendar, not just 1 month. Click back here, as I highlight all of this, go to conditional formatting, new rule. I do three color scale, and then let's do like a light gray to a medium to a really dark. And then there you go. You can play around with the colors. That was just something I picked really quickly. So from there, it's just formatting and making it pretty until you get something like this. And you can add formatting. You can do it by different call types, and you can do multiple types if you wanted. If you bring down whatever filter, you can do many calendars at once. Here's a calendar that will start with like assist calls. It'll go down EMS calls, so it'll make you a calendar for each one. And you see here's blanks here. So it does take a little bit of time if you do have blanks, but it can be done, and it's a lot faster than looking date by date by date and then physically putting it in here. So it was at least a start and something to play with. Enjoy.